Hi, I'm Bernie Winston. I'm 63 and I live in Liverpool. I did spend about 5 years in Sheffield. That's how I came to lose my Scouse accent. That's a joke. Laugh now or later. Suit yourself. Hey, how long have I been writing now? Let me have a little think. How long have I been writing? Well, I guess I've been writing all my life. But I worked in IT for 35 years. And then I had family, married, kids. So I never had as much time as I wanted to dedicate to it properly. I always loved going to the theatre. And I was lucky enough to be around the Everyman when Willie Russell and Alan Bleasdale were in the prime. So I saw a lot of their plays when they were on there, and I loved it. And of course, you'd always think, I wouldn't mind having a go at that. But you might sit down and have a go, but it's harder than it looks. So I never really got round to it till about 2 years ago. And what happened was I took early retirement, and I was looking for a little part-time job just to bring a little bit of income in. So I started waiting for Domino's, and suddenly my days became free because I was working in the evenings. And one of the things I don't watch daytime telly. So my days were free and I didn't have distractions. And I decided to throw myself into it. Struggled a bit at first, and then I found the Make It Right group, obviously with Sharon Copeman there. Went along to the drop-ins, did the courses, and gradually I learned what you call the golden rules, if you like, the things that you don't do, the things you do, the things a good player has, the way drama works. And I threw myself into it, and I've sort of been writing non-stop since then, I would say. My favourite style of writing is, I'd say, realism. I like to write about real people with real issues and things people can relate to. And it always tends to be in a Liverpool voice that I write. But I'd hope that what I write doesn't necessarily have to be performed by someone from Liverpool. So I try not to put too many local references and things like that. And at the drop-ins, of course, sometimes some of the actors who read our work out, they're not from Liverpool, and it gives you a whole different perspective sometimes on your characters, which is good. The type of things I like to write at the minute for the theatre, because that's what I've been schooling myself in, and that's where I feel comfortable, and that's where I feel at home. But the word comfortable was in there, wasn't it? And really, to stretch myself, I've been reading screenplays and TV scripts, and it's a whole different ball game. And I'd like to have a go at that. I have got an idea for a screenplay that I've been carrying around for a while. I've been studying the art of screenplay writing, and that's something that I'd like to try. I'm inspired by lots of different things, really. It can be anything. It can be an item on the news. I listen to a lot of Radio 4. I find it's good just to listen to people speaking and real stories, real life things. And you have a lot of that on Radio 4, as well as the dramas, of course. And you can hear sometimes just a little snippet that'll give you an idea that you can take away and then build on. It's like a little seed or a little cutting that you can plant and then try and make it flower yourself with all your own ideas and thoughts. And it can just be from people in the streets, people you meet, conversations overheard, newspaper stories. There's lots and lots of different things that can just give you a little idea that can kickstart the process. And what I try and do, I try and write every day. This is one of the things that keeps getting repeated. If ever you start studying this stuff, you will hear the phrase, write every day. And I really do think it's true. If you're writing every day, it starts becoming natural. It's like anything. The more you practice, the better you get. It's like learning an instrument. And it's like exercising a muscle. And if you exercise your writing muscle, it's going to get better. The time I sort of set myself to write, I've got like a little routine. I think a routine's a good thing to have. I tend to wake up quite early in the morning. I'll make myself a flask of tea and I get back into bed. Sounds good, doesn't it? And what I do then, I flip open my laptop. And I try and spend at least 2 to 3 hours each day writing. It might be new stuff. It might be going over something I've been working on to tidy it up. But I dedicate those first 2 or 3 hours to writing. And then I can get up, get in the shower and start my day. So, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, I will start my day and put the writing away. Might come back later if it's something I'm really driven to write, or if it's something that I'm writing towards a deadline. But that's what I try and do, 2 to 3 hours a day. And you'll find it coming more natural to you, especially with dialogue. That's what I find anyway. And the tips for someone starting off, I would give, like I've just said, write every day. And don't be put off. Sometimes you might sit at the desk and nothing comes. But don't just be put off. Work at it. Maybe just start writing something. If there's nothing coming, start writing about nothing coming and see if anything triggers in your mind. And there's lots of good textbooks out there, but there's lots of bad textbooks, I find. So if you can find a book written by someone that you like and you learn from it, look for what else they've written. And we probably each, I'm not going to name anyone. I've got people who are like, but they may not be for other people. So it's a case of finding that person who can guide you. And of course, speaking of that, the local writing groups are a great place to go, because you can take along your magnum opus that you think is wonderful, and suddenly someone might say, well, what about this? What about that? And you go, oh yeah. And then you might hear it getting read by the wonderful actors who come along and help us. And it makes you realise it may not be quite as good as you think, or it will give you points, it'll give you things you need to work on. And yeah, so that's what I'd say. And the main thing is, enjoy it. That don't make it be like hard work. Sit down, enjoy it. And if it goes nowhere, don't worry about it. You've enjoyed the process of getting something down on paper. And if people like it, great. That's the bonus. So that's what I say anyway. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you to my son, Sam Winston, for composing the music that introduces and ends the pieces. Thanks a lot, Sam. Great work. Amy, written by Bernie Winston, performed by Mandy Lally, a Make It Heard production.
Yeah, 14 years old I was. Just 14. Now, it must have been a Tuesday, because I was wearing my netball kit, and my last lesson on a Tuesday was games. So there's no point in getting changed. I could shower later. So as I walked home, it started to rain, that gentle, fine rain. The sort of rain that makes you wet, you'd say. And the flat was empty, so there was no surprise there. He wasn't due home for another half an hour. So I peeled some spuds, put them on to boil, popped a steak pie in the oven and settled down to watch Flogger. Oh, we loved Flogger. You always missed the opening valuation section, but usually got home in time for the auction. And then we'd guess which items would reach their estimate, and then the loser had to put the kettle on. Oh, I really fancied the presenter. That Paul Martin fella. God, I always had a thing for posh blokes. He only sold one item, bottom end of the estimate too. Very disappointing. Sack those experts, Paul. Hire me instead. 5 o'clock came and he wasn't home. Yeah, probably stuck in traffic. Pointless came and went. The jackpot wasn't won. The daft gits chose Scottish politics. I mean, they were Scottish but even so, Scottish politics. Come on. It was the bloke's fault. His missus wanted Jane Austen. I mean, she should have stood her ground and not let him dominate her. The look she gave him, I bet they are divorced now. 6 o'clock came and he still wasn't home. I rung him and it went straight to voicemail. Yeah, now I was starting to worry. A car crash maybe. Nah, it'll be a flat tyre. Yeah, that's what it would be, a flat tyre. Or a little bump, a fender bender. Nothing to worry about. I ate my tea and plated his up. He could microwave it later. Set the controls for the art of the sun, he'd say, to make me laugh. Granada Reports, ITV News, Emmerdale, Coronation Street. He still wasn't home and he wasn't answering his phone. I rung the police.
It's me dad. He hasn't come home from work. He's really late. He's never this late. Amy, my name's Amy Williams. No, my mum's, she's, it's just me and him. Me and my dad. You what? 14. I'm 14.
They said somebody would be round in 10 minutes. It was more like 20 minutes. The policeman was nice though. He looked a little bit like Hugh Grant. Asked me loads of questions and got a social worker to come and see me. I spent the night with emergency foster family. A kind woman in Formby. She reminded me of me mum. We found him the next day, down at the Crosby seafront. He'd parked up facing the sea and then the bastard slit his wrists. He didn't leave a note, not a word. No, I'm sorry, no, I love you, Amy. No explanation, no none. He was clinically depressed, he said. He could be moody and quiet and lock himself away sometimes, but we all feel like that now and again, don't we? We don't reach for a pack of razor blades. We fight on. Well, most of us do. At least he had a nice view. The River Mersey, watching the river flow as he watched the blood drain. The last man he saw was made of iron. Yeah, an Iron Man. A man who stood strong, a man who weathered storms, not a straw man, just collapsed and disappeared, blown away by a gentle breeze. He left a stack of debts that were wiped out when he when he went. Yeah. Was that the reason? Was that the trigger? Some stupid final demand, a threat to cut off the electric, a county court judgment. Is that all it was? It's a small funeral, party for one, party for two if you count the social worker. I scattered his ashes near the spot where they found his body. He belongs to the wind now. That was a long time ago. So long ago. I still visit the seafront whenever I can. And sometimes, when the wind picks up and the waves hit the shore, I swear, no, I honestly swear, I hear him whisper my name. Amy. Amy. Amy.
Remember, Remember, written and performed by Bernie Winston, and Make It Heard production. Okay, kids, are you ready? Firestorm, this one's called. Stand back. Woo! Oh, is that it? Call that a storm? It's more like a gentle breeze. Serves me right for shopping at Lidl, I suppose. The kids aren't bothered anyway. They're more interested in Halloween these days, aren't they? Out till all hours, trick-or-treating, rolling home with pockets full of sweets. We just look for apples on Halloween. If you suggested that today, they'd laugh in your face. When I was growing up, November the 5th was my favourite day of the year. I liked it even more than Christmas. Well, once you'd open your presents, Christmas Day was boring, wasn't it, hanging round the house, playing charades with your granny, when you'd sooner be outside with your mates. And my mum made us dress up and go to church and everything. I even had to wear a tie. Thank God it only came round once a year. But bonfire night was different. Bonfire night was our night. We'd scour the estate looking for wood, old mattresses, settees, anything we could burn. Sod the toxic fumes. Well, no one cared about stuff like that back then, did they? Our street was a cul-de-sac with a patch of grass that we used as a footy pitch most of the year. But the first week in November was close season. We put the ball away and concentrated on making ours the biggest and best bonfire on the estate. Giggsy was our leader, and he was ruthless. If you had a loose wooden gate or a rickety fence, the chances are you'd wake up in the morning and find it gone. I'll never forget the last year we were all together. By November the 4th, our work was done. We stood proudly by the bonfire, admiring the fruits of our labour, and my dad came out and took a Polaroid. I've still got it. It's old now, yellow round the edges. Giggsy moved his head at the last second, just as my dad was pressing the shutter. His face is all blurred. He looks like a ghost. We joked about it at the time, but a week later, he fell off his bike and cracked his skull. He was in a coma for 3 months and then, well, then he died. His family never got over it, and neither did I, not really. Well, he's my best mate, wasn't he? I still miss him. I've always wondered if that photo was some sort of sign, a premonition of what was to come. My sister Kathy used to go to these spiritualist meetings once a month with her mates. She was into all that stuff. And one night, she reckoned Giggsy came through with a message for her. Why the hell would he have a message for you? I said. You couldn't stand the sight of him. I don't know. Maybe he secretly fancied me or something, she said. Trust me, sis, he didn't fancy you. She was carrying a bit of weight back then, was Kathy. Piss off, you cheeky cat, she said. Gladys, who runs the group, said she could see a bloke rubbing his head as if it was sore. It had to be him. He'd been doing a bit more than rubbing his head. Wasn't like a couple of paracetamol were going to fix him, was it? He wanted to say he was sorry, she said. That was the message. Sorry for what? Sorry for calling you a bit of a bloater. No way was it Giggsy. He never apologised for anything. I don't know why I bother speaking to you, she said, and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I never really got on with Kathy. I still don't. But later I wondered if the message was meant for me. Maybe Giggsy knew that things would never be the same. Maybe he knew he'd left a Giggsy-shaped hole in my life. We never built another bonfire after that. We told ourselves it was just for kids. We were 15, nearly 16 years old. Pretty soon we'd have jobs, girlfriends, wives, and before you knew it, kids of our own. Life moved on. But every year, on November the 5th, my thoughts drift back to the cul-de-sac on that poky little council estate we called home. And I raise a glass of iron brew in memory of my old mate. I take the Polaroid from my wallet and stare at it. A smile. "This one's for you, Giggs," I say. There's a fumble in the box, looking for a Roman candle. They were his favourites. "Here we go, kids. Kids, come on. This one will be better, I promise." "Okay, stand back. Are you ready? Here we go. Foot. Woo! Bang! Oh, shit. No, don't cry, Georgia. Please don't cry. Look, your mum's coming. It's okay. Here's your mum." As she storms towards me, her face like thunder, I swear I can hear Giggsy laughing that daft laugh of his. "See you next year, mate," I say. And then I turn to face the wrath of our Kathy. The Tinderbox, written by Bernie Winston, performed by Paul Taylor. A Make It Heard production.
It was a blind date. Well, I say a blind date. I'd seen her photo, and we'd exchanged a few texts. Is that still a blind date? I was blind to her expectations, and well, she was blind to mine. We'd never met. So, yeah, I think it was a blind date. My mate from work, Chris, helped me sort it. Tinder. I'd heard of it, of course, but never used it. He downloaded the app, helped me set up a profile. "Welcome to the new world, Andy," he said, laughing. Alison. That was her name. Alison. My blind date. My Tinder mate. We arranged to meet in the Cross Keys on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Wednesday arrives. It's 8 o'clock. And here I am in the Cross Keys, excited and alone. Was I going to be stood up by a Tinder chick? They're supposed to be desperate, aren't they? Oh well, maybe not that desperate. I bought myself a pint of Peroni and I'm standing at the bar, waiting for Alison. Suddenly, this meathead's in me face. Fat, shaved head, tattoos. He's right up close, and his breath. Oh my God, his breath. Ciggies, stale beer, garlic. What the hell's he been eating? "Hey, knobhead, are you eyeing up my bird?" he snarls. "What?" "No, I'm just looking around, taking everything in like." "Taking my bird in, like, you twat." "Look, I don't even know who your bird is, but trust me, I'm not interested." He glances towards the end of the bar. There's a girl standing there wearing a sly grin and, well, not much else. Tons of makeup, false eyelashes and bee-stung lips. She seems, very nice. Like shite, she does. I turn away, but he's not finished. "She says you were undressing her with your eyes." Well, to be honest, mate, there's not that much undressing left to do, is there? He lunges at me and catches me full in the face. I hear a crack and my nose explodes. I see stars. I literally see stars. Blood spurts, and my nice cream shade now looks like a raspberry ripple. A bloody raspberry ripple. He comes at me again. I'm in trouble here. Suddenly, A man mountain of a bloke bursts through the crowd. My knight in shining armour. He screams one word, out! Grabs Meathead by the scruff of the neck and marches him towards the exit. Thank God for Dorman. The people around me are cheering, enjoying the show, pointing at my bloodied face and clothes, laughing. Before he knows it, Meathead's out on the street where he belongs. His girlfriend follows him, swatting the doorman with a handbag. They're gone. That's good. My nose is still pumping blood, and that's not so good. The barmaid looks at me and shakes her head, and she passes me a tea towel. Tip your head back and shove this up your nose, love, she says. She's obviously seen it all before. My nose is swollen, my face is a total mess, and my shirt's covered in blood. And then she walks in. Alison. She's wearing a bright glittery top and a black leather jacket. She's made an effort to look nice, and it's worked. I catch her eye. Andy, is that you? She says, sounding shocked. She's standing there staring at me. All I could have hoped for. All I could have wished for. I look her in the eyes and I say, you're late.
Driven. Written by Bernie Winston, performed by Ted Grant. This is a Make It Hurt production. Are you talking to me? I said, are you talking to me? Well, I don't see anyone else here, motherfucker. Shit. My head's banging. I was hoping for a nice quiet end to the shift, and what do I get? Ken Dodd's bastard son, that's what I get. He's about as funny as a fire in an orphanage. But if I want a tip, I need to be nice to him, don't I? Bollocks to that. Hey, come on, you boring twat. The meter's running. Where to? Bye-bye, tip. All right, he says. Who rattled your cage? The Holy Ghost Church. Drop us by the Holy Ghost in Netherton. You miserable git. Netherton? My old stomping ground. God, it was a right dump when I lived there. That was years ago, like. But it's even worse now. At least there weren't any drugs around when I was a kid. Oh, a bit of weed, maybe. Everyone smoked a bit of weed. But not hard drugs. Not like today. I indicate and pull out. It's quiet in the back now. Let's hope it stays that way. Flag me down outside the Crown. I've picked up a few fares round there, and they've all been half pissed. I think the landlord must be sneaking them through the back door. Corona on tap. It's a bloody massive pub anyway, the Crown. If the customers are sensible, they should be able to socially distance, no problem. Mind you, sensible is the last word I used to describe knobhead here. I catch his reflection in the mirror. He's nodded off. He must be, what, about 60? And with a gut like that, probably diabetic. He's ticking a lot of the at-risk boxes. He needs to be more careful. A coughing fit jerks him awake. I hope that's just the ciggies. Yeah, it'll be the ciggies. He put one out when I picked him up. I've got my perspex screen to protect me anyway. There's just a little gap for the payments, and my windows are open, wide open. There's plenty of fresh air flowing through the cab. I should be okay. Yeah, I'll be fine. Jane worries though. She doesn't like me mixing with so many people, especially with her being pregnant. When I get home, she greets me with a squirt of hand sanitizer, not a kiss. Makes me strip to my undies in the hall. It's like the bleeding full Monty. Everything I've worn goes straight in the wash, even my jacket. And she insists I stay 2 metres away from her. That's the hardest part. I don't even get a cuddle. She's not happy. But I've got to earn money somehow. There's no furlough money for the likes of me. And babies don't come cheap, do they? I was working for Billy when this shitstorm kicked in. Helping out in his shop and on his pitch at Grady Market. 250 quid a week, cash in hand. We were doing okay, me and Jane. But now Billy's shop's boarded up. Grady Market's deserted and the city's like a fucking ghost town. Will it ever get back to how it was? I hope so. I really hope so. But I'm not sure. I had to find something else. And I found this. It was all there was. It cost 100 quid to hire a cab. Then there's petrol, that's another 30 quid. So I have to make 130 sodding quid a shift before I get a penny for myself. Mondays and Tuesdays are tough. Really quiet. But as the week progresses, it gets busier. And I'm my own boss. I like that. Yeah, I like being my own boss. I start at 4 and work through till, well, whenever. The first couple of hours are okay, what with the supermarkets being busy and stuff. And the kids are out socialising in the early evening. Teenage girls done up to the nines, bottles of vodka in hand, meeting up at friends' houses. They think they're bulletproof, don't they? They should have more bloody sense. But I'm not complaining. Keeps things ticking over. Then there's the care workers and NHS staff with their passes proudly on display, hoping for a free ride. But I can't give them a free ride. I can't afford to. I knock a couple of quid off the fare, but I can see the disappointments on their faces when I drop them off. I say nothing. I don't try and explain. I shouldn't have to explain, should I? Soft lad in the back is dead to the world now. He snores gently as I trundle down Litherland Road at a steady 30 miles an hour. Well, it saves petrol, doesn't it? We passed the site of the old library. Me and our Joe used to come here every Saturday morning. We didn't have a single book in our house, not one. Mum and Dad weren't interested. But the library gave me access to a whole new world, a better place, where kids played in the countryside, went on adventures and solved mysteries. A place where the sun always seemed to be shining. Our Joe, he liked Biggles, but I was never into that war stuff. It's gone now, the library. A victim of austerity. Bulldozered away. There were protests, and I signed the petition to help save it. I mean, libraries are important, aren't they? But no one was listening. Do they ever listen? 2 rows of neat houses stand in its place now, and the bastards named it Dickens Close, just to remind us of what we'd lost. I take the first exit off the mini roundabout, and I'm outside the Holy Ghost Church. It's time to wake up the sleeping beauty. I pull over to the curb and bang on the perspex screen. "Hey mate, we're here," I shout. He looks around, bleary-eyed. Just take the next left," he says. "Swift's Lane?" "Yeah, Swift's Lane." Bloody hell. I grew up on Swift's Lane. I drive slowly, taking it all in. I pass our old house, 145. Doesn't look too bad, actually. Fancy blinds in the windows, hanging baskets by the door. All the houses in the street have new PVC windows and doors, and some have neat little gardens. I'm surprised, really surprised. "What number, mate?" I ask. "Over there on the left, 177. 177. The Roberts used to live there. Jimmy Roberts must have been, what, about 10 years older than me? Maybe a bit more. He kept racing pigeons in a loft in his back garden. They used to drive me mum crackers, those pigeons, circling round overhead, shitting on her washing. One shat on my dad's head once. God, what a laugh that was. Dirty little flockers, he said as he went off to the shower. My dad. He's gone now. Dodgy ticker. He survived 2 heart attacks, but couldn't survive the third. The first one happened out here on the street. We were playing football, just a little kick around. Me, my dad, our Joe and Jimmy. Dad suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed. He was unconscious and I swear his face was turning blue. Our Joe ran and got me mum. She was hysterical, a complete wreck, no use at all. Me, I just froze, rooted to the spot. Scared, really scared. But Jimmy, he was calm. He knelt down beside Dad, placed hand under his chin, tilted his head back, and then pumped into his chest, blew into his mouth over and over again until an ambulance came, all wailing sirens and flashing lights. They took Dad to Aintree Hospital. Mum went with him, calmer now, but still in floods of tears. That was the last time I prayed. Went up to my room and got on my knees and prayed. I prayed to a God I wasn't even sure existed. And it worked. Well, Dad recovered anyway. He had to be careful, like, needed tablets and stuff, but he lived for another 20 years. Thanks to Jimmy. The Times came and took his photo. The Bootle Times, that is. He was famous for a weekend, and he never had to pay for a pint in Liverpool Arms ever again. Not when my dad was there anyway, which was most evenings. I park up. 177 is more run down than the other houses. Scruffy net curtains, dirty windows. The meter reads 8.40. Not a bad fare to end the night on. He fumbles in his pocket, passes me a tenner. Here, keep the change, he says. I got a tip after all, and a decent one at that. I feel guilty now. As I take the money from him, a single grain of birdseed falls to the floor. I look at him. I look at him properly for the first time. He's older, of course, and he's not aged well. He used to have a mass of curls, but they're long gone. His face is lined and haggard, and he must be 5 or 6 stone heavier. But it's him. It's definitely Jimmy Roberts. As he clambers out of the cab and walks towards his scruffy little house, I shout after him, "Jimmy!" He turns round and looks me in the eye, puzzled. I stare back at him. "Thanks," I say. "Thanks for everything." And I pull away. I watch him shrink to a dot in my rearview mirror. And then he's gone.
Him, written by Bernie Winston, performed by Mandy Lally and Paul Taylor, a Make It Heard production.
You standing in the hall with your backpack at your feet, screaming at him. I mean really screaming at him. A high-pitched voice, piercing my eardrums. I never could get used to it. Heard it often enough. I should have been used to it. Every day. Every single fucking day. Screaming from you, bellowing from him. A deep voice. A deep, deep voice. A baritone from some twisted barbershop quartet. A quartet from hell. He'd come home and sing to us. Sing about his tea being cold. Sing about us being under his feet. Sing about anything and fucking everything. It was usually a solo from him. Maybe a duet with Mum. Often, too often, a trio. A spectacular trio. A battle to be centre stage. You, the psycho mezzo-soprano. Him, Pavarotti on acid. Mum, the chorus. A crazy opera. A crazy bloody opera. An opera no one would pay to see. An opera no one should have to hear. An opera that should have been banned from public performance. Banned from private performance. Lying in bed, fingers shoved deep, deep in my ears, trying but failing to drown it out. Can I change my ticket, please? Make it a single. A single to anywhere. Anywhere but here.
I was 17 when I left, so you were, let's see, 7? Yeah, 7 going on 8. Oh, it wasn't all bad, was it? You're only little. You're just remembering the bad times. Yes, he was a horrible, nasty man. Yes, he had a temper on him. He did bluster a lot. And I know I was a stroppy teenager and flew into rages. But there were good times too, weren't there? Not as many as there should have been, I know, but there were good times. Trips to Formby Pinewoods on the train with Mum. You and your buggy. Getting stuck in the sand. Kicking up a fuss when you had to get out and walk. Mind you, you were only a baby then. A big, bonny, beautiful baby. And remember when he took us to see Jurassic Park at the Odeon? All of us as a family. Now, that never happened. Oh, but you got upset, didn't you? It was too scary for a child, that. It should never have been a PG, that film. I was scared, but you were absolutely terrified. Mum took you outside, brought you an ice cream, but didn't calm you down. You just lay on the floor crying and you wouldn't go back in. You ended up sitting in a cafe over the road till the movie ended. She wasn't happy. He wasn't happy either. He went on and on about it all the way home and said it was the last time he'd ever take us out. The first and last time. He kept his word. And there was that trip to Blackpool, just you and me on the train. God, it's glorious sunny weather, playing on the beach, paddling in the sea, donkey rides, wasting our money on that stupid horse racing game in the arcade. Candy floss and toffee apples for lunch. And that was just before I left for uni. When I tucked you up in bed that night, you said it was the best day ever and begged me to take you back there. But I was off to Leeds, wasn't I? I have to start my new life. I told you to ask Mum. I guess she never did go back.
Jurassic Park. Of course I remember Jurassic Park. How could I forget? My first visit to the cinema. Huge, scary, ground-shaking dinosaurs. Smaller, vicious little buggers too with sharp teeth. People being eaten alive. A big, booming soundtrack. I still get a sense of dread when the lights go down in a cinema. Why didn't they just take me to see Disney, for Christ's sake? Beam me up, Walt. And yeah, I remember Blackpool too. One great day. An oasis in a desert of despair. Then in a heartbeat, you were gone. One last shouting match with Dad. One last aria. Then gone. Leaving me cut adrift in a sea of shite. Just visits at Christmas and Easter. I loved the little gifts you'd bring. Those headphones, they saved me. Tune in, turn up, zone out. Radio 4 dramas, a book at bedtime. They took me to a different place, another world. Life was different there. It gave me hope.
I never forgot you. I still cared for you. My little brother, my lost soul. I sent you letters and yeah, I got the odd reply. I meant it when I said you could come and live with me. Just as soon as I was working and had my own place. But then I met Jamie and the next thing I'm pregnant and before I knew it I'm married. It's a quiet wedding. No way was he walking me down the bloody aisle. I had new priorities. A baby and Jamie and then another baby and life just got so busy. But you were always welcome to visit. You came in the holidays and each time drifting deeper and deeper into yourself. Staring into space, a troubled boy growing into a troubled man. Always wearing those bloody headphones, Radio 4 on tap. It was bloody annoying, but I loved having you around. And I hated it when it was time for you to go back home. Exit pursued by a bear, a dad-shaped bear.
I loved your letters. The ones I saw anyway. I treasured them. Kept them in a shoebox under my bed. I've still got them. Including the ones I rescued from the bin. Opened, read, discarded by him. Stained by old tea bags and potato peel. Yeah, I felt abandoned. But at least I had your letters. He'd mock me. Where's your protector? Where's your bodyguard? When are you going to grow up here, you little shit? I dreamt of escaping. Couldn't wait till I was old enough to go to uni. But I was in therapy when I should have been at uni. Fucking therapists. A waste of space. No, I wasn't physically abused. No, I wasn't sexually abused. He never once laid a finger on me. Never. I wasn't worth the effort. There's no scars on my body. But look inside my head, and there's more scar tissue than brain tissue. It's a crime to assault someone physically. Well, why isn't it a bloody crime to assault someone mentally? Donate my brain to science. Brian's brain, roll up, you've never seen anything like it.
He did mellow as he got older. God, he doted on his grandkids. I'd look at him and think, why? Why did he love them so much? Yet he had no time for his own. I know it was a fleeting visit, came, went, didn't hang about for long. They didn't cramp his style like we did, But still, I begrudged the bond he forged with them. He scarred us both, Brian. He scarred Mum too.
Scars. Scars and open wounds. Scars heal. Open wounds don't. They fester. They infect every thought. No stick and plaster. No quick fix. The only fix was that knife. I came home late. The house was quiet. The house was never quiet. Mum was in the kitchen, tears in her eyes, staring at the floor. Him lying on the floor, knife in his stomach, staring at me. No shouting now, just staring at me. Eyes pleading for help, gasping as I pulled the knife out. No sound as I plunged it into his neck. I was cleansed by his blood. A blessed release. Mum looked at me, half joy, half horror. I looked at her, all joy. Sirens, police, ambulance. Too late. Far, far too late. I told them it was me. Nothing to do with her. She told them it was her. Nothing to do with me. But she was a lefty. And the lethal blow was made by her right hand. A malicious wounding charge for her. A murder charge for me. Show remorse, they said. Show remorse and reduce your sentence. No way. No fucking way. I'm proud of what I did. Proud. Now I only hear him in my dreams.
I've got to go. But I'll see you next month, yeah? I've always loved you, Brian. You know that, don't you? Always.
Winter Wonderland, written by Bernie Winston, performed by Becky Kershaw and Luke Morgan, and Make It Heard production.
Oh, come on. It's not even the end of November.
I know. But it's nice to bring a bit of cheer into everyone's lives, isn't it?
Everyone's lives.
Okay, most people's lives. Those be the odd miserable git, I suppose.
Some of us have work in the morning, you know. How the hell am I supposed to sleep with all this going on? It's like Blackpool Illuminations.
Thanks.
No, that wasn't meant as a compliment.
You can always draw your curtains if you don't like it.
I do draw my curtains, but it doesn't block it out. Look, I'm sorry, but having a 20-foot high inflatable snowman stuck outside my window singing Winter Wonderland over and over and over again is not my idea of fun. That stupid song will be going round my head all night.
Okay, point taken. No more Winter Wonderland.
Really?
Yeah, consider it gone.
Oh, thank you.
He comes with a choice of songs. What do you fancy instead? Let It Snow, maybe?
No, I definitely do not fancy Let It Snow. How about Silent Night?
He doesn't do hymns.
Or The Sound of Silence?
Oh, where's your Christmas spirit, woman? Take the broomstick out your arse, will you? Halloween was weeks ago.
What? How dare you? Take that back.
Okay, I'm sorry. Relax, will you?
Relax. Relax. Do you know how I like to relax?
No, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
A good book, a nice glass of Chardonnay, and just Johann Sebastian Bach for company. That's how I relax. But there's no chance of that with all this here, is there?
Polish, is he?
What?
This Johann fella. Don't get too attached to him. Once Brexit kicks in properly, he'll be gone, love.
Saints preserve us. No, he isn't Polish. He's German, and he gives me more pleasure than any other man I know.
Lucky old Johann, eh?
Do not even think about flirting with me. You.
I do like a spirited wench.
What?
I always have. But never worked, Cheryl. Oh, it'd be great at first, like, and I'm sure the sex would be mind-blowing.
I beg your pardon?
But then you start getting on my nerves, you know, with all the moaning and groaning and bloody political correctness. Ooh, Nick, it's wrong to look on Fiona Bruce as a sex object. She's got a brain, you know.
You're thinking about her now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Naked?
What? No. What do you take me for? She's wearing a skimpy yellow bikini.
Nick! That's wrong on so many levels.
Oh, leave it out. You sound like my ex-missus.
I take it she was a very wise woman.
Wise? That's one word for her. I can think of a few others. Tart. Slag.
Okay.
Fucking harlot.
All right. I get the picture.
I mean, what kind of woman walks out on her kids, eh?
Does she keep in touch with them at all?
No. Oh, she might ring on Christmas Day, like. But even that's not guaranteed.
It must be difficult for them.
It was at first, like. But now they don't even mention her. Luckily, I've got my mum to help out. Don't think I'd cope otherwise. They'd end up in care or something.
It doesn't bear thinking about.
I know. So, what about you? You gonna have a quiet one?
I was hoping to.
Just you and Johann?
Yeah. Just me and Johann.
No family?
No. My mum passed away 3 years ago.
And there's no one else?
No. I've got a brother, but he lives in Australia. I haven't seen him for years.
Ah, so that's why you're so miserable. Can't be much fun being on your own at this time
I'm not
of year.
miserable. I never really celebrate Christmas.
You're not one of those Jehovah's Witnesses, are you?
Good Lord, no.
Oh, thank God for that. The last thing I need on Christmas morning is you hammering on my door with a collection tin in one hand and a copy of Watchtower in the other.
Don't worry. There's no chance of that. I'm an atheist.
I used to believe. I was an altar boy and everything. But these days I'm not so sure.
So you're an agnostic?
No, a Catholic. What?
Oh, nothing.
Might have lost my religion, but I still love celebrating Christmas.
Yeah, I noticed.
Well, you've got to make a bit of an effort, haven't you? And the kids love it. Look, there's a crowd forming already.
And they're trampling all over my lawn. How marvellous.
Hey kids, stay on the pavement, please.
Fuck off.
Hey Callum, what's your language, young man? I know where you live, remember?
Stick Frosty up your arse.
No, I will not shove that snowman anywhere, thank you very much. Bloody hell. Kids today, what are they like?
Feral.
What?
They're like wild animals, most of them.
Ah, don't be too hard on Callum, though. It's just him and his mum. He's left to fend for himself most of the time.
That's no excuse. I mean, look at you. You're a single parent and your kids are all right, aren't they?
Thanks.
It's just the dad who's a total pain in the arse.
Hey, Cheryl, watch your language, young lady. I know where you live, remember?
Ooh, your curtains are twitching.
What?
It's not a euphemism. I think someone's spying on us.
Oh, that'll be my mum. She's hoping to find a girlfriend.
I'm a bit too old to be anyone's girlfriend.
Oh, I don't know. There's a sock for every old boot.
Excuse me?
It means...
Oh, I know what it means. I just don't think I like being referred to as an old boot.
Hey, it's better than being the sock that gets shoved inside it.
Nick.
What? Oh, hey, I was thinking, why don't you and Johan call round for a drink sometime?
There is no Johan.
Ah, dumpy did he? On the run up to Christmas too, the bastard. Oh well, there's plenty more fish in the sea, Cheryl.
And a sock for every old boot.
There sure is. Hey, you can join us on Christmas Day if you like.
No, you're okay.
My mum's coming over. Why don't you call round for the Queen's speech and a game of Trivial Pursuit? Do you like Trivial Pursuit?
I do like quizzes, yes, but...
You're coming, okay? I insist. But we warned, avoid my mum's Christmas cake at all costs. Tastes like treacle. Ugh. I have to eat it because, I don't want to upset her like, but God, it's awful.
The things we do for love, eh? OK, I'll call round. But I couldn't stomach the Queen's speech. I'll wait till it's over. And I'll bring some proper Christmas cake. My mum's old recipe.
No treacle.
Nope. Plenty of whiskey and brandy, but no treacle.
That sounds more like it.
Nick?
Yeah.
You could have a problem here. Frosty's looking a bit deflated all of a sudden.
Oh, bollocks, has he let himself down again?
I think your friend Callum may have had something to do with it. Look at that cheeky grin on his face.
The little bugger. Never mind. Should be easy enough to patch him up. I'll sort it out tomorrow.
So Frosty's out of action tonight. Way! Peace on earth and goodwill to all men.
Oh, his speaker's working fine. We can still have a bit of music.
Bloody hell! Let's pray for a power cut.
The Early Days, a monologue by Bernie Winston, read by Frances Brodie Aldridge. In the mid-1970s, I was working as a nurse at St Thomas's. Yeah, I was living in London back then, and I met this boy, Aaron. He was from the States, New York, and was studying art at St Martin's. I really liked him. Pretty soon we were, going steady. He called me his muse. And when he graduated, when it was time for him to go back home, he asked me if I wanted to go with him. I said yes, of course I did. New York City? Imagine that. I was so excited. New York was great, vibrant, full of life, a little bit scary, but never boring, never ever boring. But after a year or so, the relationship, well, it started to grow stale. It happens, doesn't it? Aaron had a job as a waiter, so much for his art degree. And I was working 12-hour shifts in Manhattan. Some days we'd hardly see each other. Most days we'd hardly see each other. The absence didn't make the heart grow fonder. Not in our case. We just slowly drifted apart. When he told me he was leaving, I didn't feel sad. No, I actually felt relieved. I helped him pack. I may have tired of Aaron, but I hadn't tired of the States. I wanted a fresh start, though. So in 1980, I moved out west to San Francisco. I loved it. The people were so friendly, and I was happy, really happy. It must have been around 1981. Yes, early 81. I'd just started work at the Memorial Hospital, and they assigned these patients to me. They were confined to their rooms at the end of the hallway, away from everyone. And it struck me that these patients, these men, weren't being very well cared for. Their rooms were messy, with dinner trays just left lying around. They all had this disease. No one really understood what it was, and I don't remember hearing a name for it back then. But I was told that all of these patients were gay, and that there was a sense among many of the staff that these guys, you know, did dirty things, and that was why they were sick. Other nurses made nasty comments about them, and just assumed I felt the same way. I soon put them straight. How dare they look down on these poor men? It made me so bloody angry. Angry, but determined. Determined to help them. So I made sure their rooms were clean and their dishes cleared away. I just did whatever I could. They made fun of my accent. "Gor blimey, it's Mary Poppins," they'd say. I didn't mind. I laughed with them. And pretty soon everyone knew me as Mary. I quite liked it. I had this friend, Wendy. She worked at the San Fran General. One day she phoned me and told me that they were opening a special unit to care for these patients. They were recruiting nurses, and she asked if I was interested. I was interested, because I thought, let's try and get a handle on this disease. Let's do all we can to help these guys. And that's how I became a nurse on Ward 5B, the first dedicated AIDS ward in the world. We were a 12-bed ward, yes, just the 12 beds at first, and before long they started to fill. Sometimes we'd see a patient early on, treat them and send them home. But later, these same guys would come back, and they were changed. They were emaciated, and sometimes, they were actually demented. It was awful, truly awful, and there wasn't a cure. They just grew weaker and weaker until, well, as the cases increased, there was a growing sense of fear in the city. But it never felt like we were fighting the battle alone. Not at all, because people saw that something tragic, really tragic, was happening, and many wanted to help. So we set up a volunteer unit. People could work as volunteers on the ward, and they helped us create a really friendly atmosphere. Some donated plants, others bought chocolate. Too much chocolate. I had to watch my weight, and little things like toothbrushes and dressing gowns. You know, everyday things, because lots of these guys had lost their jobs and didn't have much money. Of course, we were a hospital unit and people were ill, some very ill, but so many patients were drawn out of their solitary rooms by the positive atmosphere, and it felt like we were, you know, really making a difference. There was a lot of stigma around HIV at the time. Stupid, ignorant rumours were circulating about how easy it was to catch the disease, and many gay people were being subjected to horrendous pressures at work. It made me so angry. But we knew we had the opportunity to lessen that fear. We knew we could educate people. So we encouraged press coverage. There were lots of interviews, so many interviews. But it was difficult sometimes, because obviously our main focus was on caring for our patients. But we wanted to show how we could help these guys, these poor guys, who were on the loneliest journey of their lives. I think anyone who lived through that time and whose life was touched by that awful disease carry a sense of grief and sadness that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. I remember one patient, Greg. He'd drawn caricatures of the staff. He drew me, dressed like Mary Poppins, brolly raised, waiting to fly away when the wind changed. I told him I was going nowhere. We hung his pictures round the ward and they made us laugh so much. Greg's partner, Ray, spent as much time with him as he could, mopping his brow and comforting him, watching, helpless, as the lesions spread across his skin, staying with him as he grew weaker, until it was pneumonia that took him in the end. Ray was devastated. I offered to arrange counselling for him, but he wasn't interested. The following day, he ran a bath, lit a few candles, opened a bottle of wine, and downed a bottle of sleeping pills. I cried for a week. I mean, how could I not get emotionally involved? These guys had become my friends. Greg and Ray were cremated on the same day, and their ashes were scattered in San Francisco Bay, close to the place where they'd first met. Oh, I miss them so much. Greg's sketches were eventually taken down and replaced by brighter, more colourful pictures. But I kept my Mary Poppins picture and I got it framed. It still makes me smile. And sometimes it makes me cry. Later, of course, new antiviral drugs were developed. It took time, far too much time. But eventually, HIV sufferers were able to live long and full lives. I hoped and prayed that we would never, ever see anything like it again. And for many years, everything seemed okay. There was Ebola and SARS, of course, but they were managed and contained. Then, in January, I read about these poor people in China. They were coming down with an unusual, very aggressive virus. Thousands were dying. Many more were ill. By February, it was spreading to other countries. Lots of other countries. Oh, I really hope it doesn't reach us. I'm safe enough here, tucked away in my care home. But it's the other people, the people not as lucky as me, I fear for.